Welcome to Activities. Choosing activities that match the company profile is extremely important to how professional and realistic your project ends up becoming. That's why strategic activity selection matters, because random marketing does not equal effective marketing. Your actions must match your brand identity, audience expectations, and business operations. The best campaigns feel natural because they align with how the brand looks, talks, behaves, and sells. So, with that said, here's a huge disclaimer for this video. Activities in marketing are so varied, we couldn't hope to go over all of them in one video. Instead, this video gives you the tools to understand some of the core foundations used in brainstorming to help you craft the perfect plan. Topic 1, your visual identity. Your visual identity is how your brand will be introduced at first glance to your judge. This includes things like colors, typography, style, and mood. And that can change perceptions a lot. We've all seen how Apple uses sleek, minimal visuals to reinforce its innovation-forward reputation, or how Wendy's uses colorful graphics and bold text to support its witty tone. When visual identity is well thought out, your brand becomes instantly recognizable and more professional. Choose platforms where your visuals shine. For example, more vibrant brands often attract the most attention on Instagram when scrolling, whereas clean, minimal credibility-focused brands tend to resonate on LinkedIn. Strong activities linked to enforcing visual identity from the get-go might include creating branded templates, defining 3 to 4 content pillars, or using a consistent design style across assets. What's important to note is these activities wouldn't end up being called out in your project, but would instead be for your benefit as you create. On that note, be careful to avoid tone clashes. For instance, a serene, minimalistic skincare brand probably shouldn't launch a chaotic meme campaign. Topic 2, advertising campaigns. Every advertising campaign should start with a review of past performance. Which platforms generated the most return? What messaging landed well? Since you don't have past data to reference, look at similar companies, industry benchmarks, or even publicly released case studies. Rather than reinventing the wheel, we want to amplify what's working. For example, if we saw in past case studies or in our own project that Instagram ads with student testimonials performed well, we'd consider extending the series or reusing those clips on TikTok. If newsletter click rates were high, we'd figure out what the top performing language is, then use that in our web banners or pop-ups. Also, we want to think in terms of ecosystems. We never run just a single ad. We want to build interconnected slide campaigns that span multiple formats. For instance, we turn one piece of ad copy into a blog headline, a story poll, and a UGC challenge. We could repackage one of our top performing ads into a pinned Instagram carousel with extra context. We could run a retargeting campaign based on recent site visitors data that we've collected from our website. Or we could even create a new aspect to our landing page that extends an ad into deeper journey. Advertising is often where the budget goes after operations, so showing that your campaign is based on logic reassures your judge that you can manage marketing resources responsibly. Topic 3, social media presentation and tone. Tone is your brand's voice. Is it cheeky or professional? Sentimental or sarcastic? Your tone of voice is the emotional and stylistic fingerprints of your brand, and no one wants their fingerprints all over a murder scene, much less a poorly designed ad campaign. Let's say we always want to choose communication formats that match. Let's say your brand voice is upbeat and friendly. Then your activities might include posting behind-the-scenes stories with super casual or slangified language, commenting using emojis and playful clips, sharing feel-good testimonials with heartwarming captions. For a more slightly sarcastic angle, look at companies like Duolingo's or Wendy's as an example. However, for a thoughtful, reflective brand, we'd shift towards long-term captions with quotes or statistics, educational carousels with a minimalistic design, or comment moderation and intentional phrasing. Going further than that, though, we want to match the call to action or CTA to the platform where we are operating. For example, Instagram favors soft CTAs like learn more, while TikTok thrives on bold prompts like tag a friend who needs this. However, always be careful to avoid forcing a tone that doesn't match your brand or audience. Brand voice is how customers build emotional connection. If your tone fluctuates or feels out of place, your audience won't know what to expect, and that erodes brand loyalty. Judges will also notice whether your tone matches your industry and audience. Topic 4. Public relations and media coverage. Let's move on from your own channels to your earned ones. While there's a ton of different types of earned medias, we're going to focus here on PR and media coverage. We always want to start with a reputation audit. This will help us understand how our business is perceived by our stakeholders, as well as identify areas where we need improvements to our external messaging. We want to ask a few questions. Has this brand been featured in the media before? Was the coverage positive, neutral, or negative? And did the brand focus on credibility, controversy, innovation, or something else? We should use this background to shape our activities moving forward. Good PR builds trust quickly. A single feature in a respected outlet can generate more credibility than months of advertising. So, how do we get featured or take advantage of our featurings? Designing as seen in banners for your site or one-pagers. Pitching to niche publications like industry letters or Deca Advisor blogs. Submitting founder interviews to student newspapers or podcast guest spots. Creating downloadable press kits with brand facts, bios, photos, and links. You can also use coverage to build lead magnets or press kits for future campaigns. Topic 6. Search engine optimization strategy and digital footprint. Let's move into the next topic, your search engine optimization strategy and digital footprint. Before we get to any real marketing activities, it's essential to audit the basics. What keywords does the business currently rank for? How are their blog titles written? Are they catchy but clear? Are meta descriptions providing value or just stuffing in random keywords? These small details shape how search engines interpret your content and how users engage with it. A great brand can get swallowed up by bad SEO. Generally, if you're doing a project that requires strong marketing follow-through, starting off with an analysis of how a brand's current digital footprint exists is a great place to start. This shows judges that you know how to take pre-existing resources and revitalize them, which is very helpful for keeping costs lower. From there, focus on activities that drive long-term visibility. Think evergreen blog content that stays relevant. For example, these might be helpful FAQ pages that answer real customer questions and are also SEO targeted, or YouTube explainers that show up in both Google and YouTube searches. To prepare for questions from your judge, study up on the importance of metadata usage in prioritizing your brand in searches and social algorithms. Behind the scenes, we can make sure we are supporting discoverability with smart technical choices, like mentioning that we use alt text for every image, add internal links to keep users exploring your site, and ensure all content is properly tagged. However, here's the hard truth. We don't pour effort into SEO-heavy campaigns if the foundation is broken. If your website is slow, unresponsive, or disorganized, we have to fix that first. A flashy blog post won't matter if Google's crawler can't even navigate your pages. Website redesign is often bandied about by students just for them to understand the cost and fail to properly explain the need. If you have high SEO costs, but don't mention website revitalization, or at least establish that the website is strong enough it doesn't require maintenance, your judge may ask questions. Topic 7. Sponsorships, partnerships, or influencer ties. Next up is all about sponsorships, partnerships, and influencer ties. Together, these three main methods make up some of the fastest ways a brand can extend its reach if done strategically. We always start by auditing current and past brand alignments. Who a business chooses to associate with says a lot about what it stands for. If the brand has partnered with sustainable brands or education-focused creators in the past, that tells you where their values lie, and future activities should reflect that. If a brand has no background in partnerships, it'll be good to point out for the judge the mission statements or values that drove the decision on who to partner with. Look out for opportunities to build on existing relationships with campaigns like co-branded social posts, collaborative giveaways, or even curated playlists and joint live streams. These activities help expand your reach, and they borrow credibility from a like-minded audience that already trusts your partner. But here's where judgment and budgeting really matters. Not all partnerships cost the same. For the sake of DECA, influencers and brand collaborators typically fall into one of three cost structures: flat fee, commission, or affiliate. There are other methods out there, but these are often what students default to using. A flat fee is a one-time payment for content or exposure. This is easy to plan for, but risky if results are uncertain. For example, maybe an Instagram influencer's post doesn't do as well as we expected, and we lose money out on a post. Commission-based deals pay the partner a percentage of each sale their audience makes, which means there are strong incentives for the partner to be excellent, but it requires solid tracking tools like affiliate codes or UTM links. Affiliate models are similar, but often the difference is that they are long-term and tied to performance over time, which can be more sustainable for smaller businesses. When you're writing down your marketing budget, don't just write down influencer fee. We have to define exactly how that money moves. DECA judges are waiting for that level of specificity. Can you justify the return? Do your calculations match your campaign goals? And influencers are expensive. Topic 8. Customer engagement strategy. Building a brand is only half the job. The other half is keeping people connected to it. When we start developing our customer engagement strategy, we begin by checking the current engagement level. Are users commenting on posts? Are posts getting real responses? Is there an active community around the brand, or is it just one-way communication? These signals tell you whether people feel heard or just talked at. From there, focus on activities that keep the loop open and encourage real interaction. On digital platforms that might look like Instagram polls, Discord chats, or email replies that come from a real human, not a bot. And if you're looking for meaningful participation, give your audience a role in the process. Campaigns like "What should we build next?" or "Vote on our next flavor drop" let customers shape the outcome and feel invested. Never doubt the power of the emotional buy-in. However, engagement isn't limited to screens. A lot of students in DECA default to the social media or entirely digital campaign method, but that can be a huge red flag to judges. At the end of the day, that works for some markets, but most students should have a mix of both, and maybe even heavily prioritize traditional marketing if that's what the audience needs. If your audience includes local shoppers, community groups, or people who aren't digitally active, traditional marketing methods may drive a more authentic connection. Pop-up booths at events, handwritten thank you notes, or in-store feedback polls all could give a personal touch that social media can't replicate. This could work especially well in service-based business or smaller markets where face-to-face relationships still carry weight. The key is knowing your audience and matching your strategy to their habits. The beauty of a DECA project is by just even including these thoughtful little details in the bullet points in the How We Connect section, it shows to your judge that you genuinely have put in the effort to think this through for your market. And one last tip for your DECA paper, show how customer input is used, not just collected. For instance, if you run a poll, circle back with the results in your next post and explain what you did with that data. That simple act of follow-through is what transforms attention into loyalty. Judges want to see that your customer engagement strategy is intentional, two-way, and adaptable across platforms and offline touchpoints. Primarily, we see this circle back being used by OR papers. Topic 9. Brand reputation, for example, sentiment analysis. To understand public sentiment, use tools like Mention or Brandwatch, or even conduct manual audits of TikTok comments, Reddit threads, or product reviews. Pay attention to these trends in language. Are people calling the brand authentic, overpriced, underrated? These patterns offer real insight into how people feel and make for an excellent inclusion in research analysis. Once you have that sentiment map, your activities should amplify what's working. For example, if online reviews say you're the go-to for ADHD-friendly planners, make that a headline, own that niche. At the same time, we also want to use proactive strategies to manage friction. This could mean improving your comment moderation process or even just updating FAQs to address common complaints. When customers are complaining, we want to show we're listening. In the same family of thought, don't push for visibility if brand sentiment is weak or failing. If your brand is under fire, double down on getting your house in order first. Visibility only amplifies what exists, good or bad. In DECA projects, that level of awareness shows maturity. It tells judges that you understand timing, trust, and long-term positioning. Topic 10. Sales channels, for example, e-commerce, retail, wholesale, or direct-to-consumer. This is about where purchases actually happen and how you tailor your marketing to match. Is a brand primarily direct-to-consumer through a website? Then lean into email and SMS campaigns to drive a repeat traffic. Are they selling wholesale to other businesses? Then you want business-to-business sales kits, product training resources, and assets that help their team sell on your behalf. Make it easier for them. Businesses love that sort of thing. And if you're focused on retail, everything should support in-store decision-making. Think eye-level shelf visuals or end cap signage. Anything so the store doesn't have to design their own. Avoid influencer-heavy digital campaigns if 90% of purchases happen in-store because your efforts simply won't translate. Instead, we should be redirecting energy towards strategies that meet buyers when they're already shopping. This could mean in-person demos, partnerships with store associates, or packaging designed to sell itself on the shelf. Topic 11. Distribution network. Domestic versus global partners. This section mostly applies to entrepreneurship 20-pagers, but is also just good to know overall. A business with global reach needs to think globally and not just act locally. This means factoring in time zones for announcements or live stream, offering multilingual customer support if needed, and ensuring that shipping logistics like custom delays or regional characters don't sabotage your promises. When choosing marketing activities, we also have to prioritize those that scale. Online events, global hashtags, and email campaigns with language localization are far more effective than region lock tactics. You can also segment your efforts with partner giveaways or ambassador programs tailored to specific regions. For example, running a simultaneous giveaway in the US, UK, and India with region-specific prizes allows the brand to feel local and global all at once. Just be careful to not accidentally alienate your audience. Avoid using region-specific slang, memes, or holiday references that might confuse or even offend international followers. For example, a joke that lands in California might flop in Seoul. Topic 12. Sales funnel and customer journey. Every customer is at a different stage in the decision-making process when you're organizing your project, and your marketing activity should meet them where they are, not where you wish they were. At the top of the brand, Tofu, customers are just discovering the brand. They're not ready to buy. Educational blog posts, search-friendly how-tos, or short-form explainer videos that help them learn about you will be super helpful there. In the middle of the funnel, Mofu, they're considering their options. That's where comparison guides, product demos, and how our different content comes into play. Here, your job is to build trust, show value, and really wow them with your uniqueness. At the bottom of the funnel, Bofu, customers are nearly ready to purchase. What they need is a push. Promo codes, urgency ads, testimonials, and limited time CTAs help give the decision a sense of urgency, which often pairs a value add with it to encourage customers. Someone could land on your page for the first time but already be in Bofu if they're urgently shopping. So your content must align with intent, not just a calendar. In your Deca paper, show that you've thought through this journey and matched every activity to a specific stage. Topic 14. CRM, Customer Relation Management, Usage, and Sales Technology. Our next topic centers on CRM, or Customer Relationship Management, and how it connects to the rest of your marketing stack. A good CRM shouldn't just sit there, it should work. Is it synced with your email platform? Can it track ad performance or plug into Google Analytics? If not, you're flying blind. This is, for the record, only generally used by OR or project management papers and can be very difficult for students who are new to prepared papers to incorporate. When choosing marketing activities, we focus on those that generate usable data and help automate follow-up. Set up email drip campaigns that respond to user behavior over time, or use dynamic retargeting lists that adjust based on what pages someone viewed or how far they got in the checkout process. If you're gathering leads, we can tie them directly into your CRM software to make things cleaner when connecting together. A tool like a quiz, for example, can double as a segmentation system by assigning users to different email tracks based on their answers. Topic 15. Seasonal trends or sales cycles. Timing matters more than people think. Take a close look at previous sales data if it's available for your industry. What are people actually buying? What months or weeks show spikes, and which ones see sales fall off? Understanding these patterns will shape not just what you promote, but when. Once you've mapped the sales curve, we want to match your marketing to the demonstrated buyer behavior. This could mean running early access promos right before a peak season, creating countdowns to major events like ICDC if we're a DECA prep org, or using timely language like back to grind or mid-semester reset to tap into seasonal mindsets. Reusing your language your audience already relates to makes your content feel more impactful. Just as important, we need to know when not to launch. For example, running a high-stakes campaign during final weeks is likely to flop, even with a great message. Topic 18. Example scenario. Now let's walk through an example to see how all of these concepts come together in practice. Imagine you're launching a study resource website designed specifically for neurodivergent DECA students. The platform offers structured flashcards, filtered review tools, and a calming, accessible interface. Together, these all have the goal of reducing overwhelm and increasing retention for student learning. Your short-term goal is to bring in 50 beta users in the next 3 weeks, gather real feedback, and use that insight to prepare for a public launch 6 weeks from now. Let's start by looking at your initial marketing activities. These things are designed to get early traction inside a focused niche, DECA students and advisors who are already engaged in competitive prep. Here, you're focused on running low-cost, high-trust campaigns. We might see Discord ambassador outreach, direct advisor emails, niche subreddit posts, and targeted Instagram stories with clear CTAs. The focus is on relationship-first outreach, not mass visibility. Each activity is designed to create a feedback loop and build trust with early adopters. Next, let's look at the research phase. The goal here isn't to get users, but instead we want to really understand them. What do students struggle with most? What feels overwhelming or unstructured when they study? Using things like short onboarding surveys, open-ended feedback forms, and guided user interviews to learn what features people want and how they want them presented. To steal a phrase from pop culture, we listen and we don't judge. Finally, let's move into execution activities, or where you start making product changes in real time based on what you've heard. Maybe you've identified that students need clearer sorting tags or a faster way to flag confusing cards. Maybe advisors want a shareable tracking feature for teams. During this stage, you're fixing all the things you've realized your users don't like and are prepping the platform for a public-facing launch. So even though this example is specific, the process applies universally. Start with niche traction, research to validate and adjust, then execute to improve. Topic 19. How to choose the right marketing activities. When it comes to marketing, the biggest mistake students make is being vague. You can't just say we want to promote. It doesn't tell you how to market or what tools to use. So the first step is this: clarify your real marketing goal. And while this might seem limiting, there are 4 you can generally choose from as a student to guide yourself. Awareness, people know we exist. Interest/engagement, people interact with or ask about us. Conversion/sign-up, people take an action, email, download, or trial. And trust/retention, people return, tell others, or stay connected. Once you've locked in on your goal, match the activity to that goal. A viral video might build awareness, but won't earn long-term trust. A limited-time code might drive conversions, but only if your audience is already warmed up. Next time, we have to think about audience behavior. Ask yourself, where do they already hang out online? For Go for Class, most DECA students are active on Instagram, TikTok, Discord, and school-sponsored platforms like Google Classroom. So trying to launch a campaign on Twitter or LinkedIn, probably a mismatch. What formats do they trust? For example, Reels versus Reddit threads. Neurodivergent students tend to prefer content that feels organized but still authentic. That means short visual explainers, swipe-friendly carousels, real student testimonials, and definitely bite-sized video walkthroughs. A chaotic, fast-cut reel might grab attention for a few seconds, but a focused how to master this test in 5 steps carousel might earn their trust. What annoys them? For example, overly polished ads. Go for Class essentially avoids anything that feels salesy, for lack of a better word. This includes generic corporate sounding captions, stock photo overload, and hard sell CTAs. These students are often navigating burnout or overstimulation, so overly energetic or noisy content can feel overwhelming instead of motivating. and who do they listen to? This audience listens to their peers, like their deck advisors and credible student creators who get it. That's why Go for Glass focuses on community-led marketing. We highlight competition stories and use student mentors to bring wisdom into our community. Rather than shouting for attention, we build trust through familiar, credible voices. Also, match the activity to your stage of growth. For pre-launch, teaser content, waitlists, and influencer seeding. For beta/MVP, private invites, testimonials, and early reviews. For growth, community building, SEO content, and feature showcases. And for already established, paid ads, case studies, and brand partnerships. In addition, choose activities based on output type. To avoid burnout, consult the output match matrix. Here it is. Here you can repeat the same idea in multiple formats. For example, a user quote can also be a tweet, a graphic, a reel, and a testimonial. And with that, the project activities section is concluded. Once again, thank you for supporting us.